this is going to be a short check-in because I got a little preoccupied with work today and it is past 1 a.m. but I missed a day last week and I am not going to miss a day this week, or at least if I do, it will not be today. So yeah, just a quick check-in before tomorrow. Before then I take the next video, before sleep. Last night I read another Christmas novella, and this one was really more of a novelette, but it was recommended by Katie Robert on Twitter, and it is called Paddled by Krampus. Kind of bizarre, or I guess bananas, better word for it. It was wild, definitely like erotica, not a romance. Although like it kind of plants some seeds for it, although it could just be me as a romance reader like reading into it. Also, yeah, like I said, it's literally 1 a.m. I kind of look gross. I did put on some chapstick, but other than that, it's just, it's very late. I'm not at my best. It is what it is, but I am dedicated to you all, so I'm here. Anyways, back to Krampus. The premise of this book is wild. The heroine, I can't remember her name, but it starts with an A, is like, also, oh my god, Caroline is riled up and playing with a ponytail, so if you hear any loud thumps, that's Caroline. Anyways, the heroine of this book is like a wizard's apprentice, and she lives with this wizard, and he's a total pushover, and she like manipulates the whole situation and like steals things and convinces him that he's misplaced them, or like she will like not do her work and then like cry and get away with it. And so she like kind of knows that she's a user, but she's like, it is what it is, I can get away with it. But then Jared, I think is her wizard master, her wizard master's name, and he makes this aphrodisiac, and she's like, she overhears him say like it can make someone instantly orgasm, and she's like, I'll have what he's having. And she like steals some in the middle of the night, but as she like goes downstairs, takes this and starts just like going off, she like hears something in her ear. It's like, oh, you've been a bad girl, and she's like, what? And then like she sees like a beast approaching, and which is of course Krampus. And it's wild. It is super wild. He like has a bunch of like switches apparently, and there's some whipping, and it's funny because the whole time she's like kind of terrified by him, but also like very turned on. And that's like pretty much the whole story. At the end, like the wizard comes downstairs and I think he like whips her too. Again, it's like, although that feels more like the aftercare of the scene than the actual scene. Anyways, it is wild. It's 15,000 words. If that sounds like your thing, go for it. If it doesn't, wouldn't recommend it. It's like totally a fever dream. Caroline! So, do with that what you will. The other thing that I did is I started reading. I started listening to the audiobook of Demon from the Dark, which is one of my favorite Immortals After Dark books. So good. This is the Torture Island phase of Immortals After Dark. A bunch of mortals have been kidnapped to this island where a group of humans are like running tests, and like there's vivisection, weird stuff. Anyways, Caro Grey is captured by these humans and sent to seduce and bring back this vampire demon, aka V-Man, named Malcolm Slain. And if she does not, then they're going to harm her. I think it's technically her niece or her cousin, but this little girl named Ruby, her mom has been, like days ago as they were captured, her mom Amanda was killed. And so she's kind of like now Caro's child to take care of, her ward, if you will. I'm realizing I'm using my hands a lot. It is what it is. Anyways, so they threaten Ruby and say like, you bring us back this dude, or like, who knows what's gonna happen to your little friend. So she goes to this like alien planet. It's like they call it a hell realm or something like that. She goes there to try and bring this guy back. And he has like very much Zadist vibes. And then like he has this whole like traumatic past. He was like a blood slave. There was some assault. By the way, trigger warning for reference to past assault, and I think there are moments where there are references as well to like flashbacks, but they don't put you in the head of him in the moment where those things are happening. So be aware, choose to read or not read for your own well-being. So she's put on this planet, he's there. I can't tell if Caroline wants out. Nope, she's good. So she's put on this planet, and she runs into him. There's some hubbub about someone else finding her first and him killing them. And they're like stuck in this, well, I mean, they're not stuck, but like they're in his cave, they cannot communicate, and so they have to, like, it takes them a while to like understand each other and like communicate, like have any sort of, I mean, even for a while they don't really communicate, it's just kind of grunting and like one-sided conversations. But it's so delightful. I listened to like most of the book. I think I have like 2 hours left in the audiobook, but I listened to most of that today just because I like it so much. And also, as I said, I was working a lot. She eventually like is feeling so torn because he's starting to like remember some English, and they are starting to be able to communicate a bit, but she's like, there's no way that I can guarantee he'll be able to understand what I'm saying, and even if he does, what if that changes his mind, and I can't risk the life of my like surrogate child at this point. Surrogate, you get the drill. And so she brings him back, and he's captured, and he like feels so betrayed, and like his whole life people have been kind of selling him out, and he's like, I finally found my fated mate, I found my person, and they sold me out too. And so it's like super devastating, and she's like, I didn't want to, but she kind of had to. So they're in this like immortal prison, and there's a prison break by this woman who's someone who Lothair stole a ring from. So everyone kind of gets out of their like cells, and it's all willy-nilly. They find each other, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. And it's Malcolm and Ruby have found each other, and Malcolm, Ruby, and Caro, pardon me, find each other. They're like on the island together. They're like away from everyone else, and they're like, okay. And I just like this book so much. I like it so much. Like Malcolm, and I was talking to someone about this, but the thing is, like, there's like at their core they're like good people who like deeply care about each other, and like Ruby also like deeply cares about, Caro deeply cares about Ruby, and like they want to do the best they can because of the circumstances that they're in. Like they're just kind of screwed. Like Malcolm cannot communicate with Caro, and he's like much bigger than she is, and like he accidentally breaks her wrist at one point, and he's like he does this saving her life by pulling her off the edge like of a cliff, but he still does. And so like even when he's doing his best and trying to take care of her, like it's just that they don't understand each other. And Caro like comes to a point where she really cares about him and like wants good things for him, and like starts to like have feelings for him and love him, but she like knows that like Malcolm is an adult man who can kind of take care of himself, but Ruby is like, I think she's 8, like she's a little girl, she cannot take care of herself, she's not immortal, Malcolm isn't immortal. And so like she loves Malcolm, but she also like cannot leave this literal child to fend for themselves. And so Like they're both just good people who are trying their best, but like they're screwed. And so I like that they're not actively working against each other. Like they're just trying their best, which relatable. But also like Malcolm is everything that I want in a hero. Like he's super alpha-y in that he's like, I just want to like love my person, protect my person. Like if anyone comes at them, I will murder whoever comes at my partner. And he's like massive. Like he's like, and the great thing is like, I feel like within any sort of like big paranormal series, with each book the author kind of like, this is a bigger hero, or like this is a bigger bad, or like there's this kind of one-upping of the heroes. But in this one, like previous or later books are like, yeah, Malcolm Slane is like the biggest, baddest dude out there. Like even the hero of this book is like, yeah, I'm afraid of that dude from 3 books ago. And I like that. It works for me. Like he's just massive. He has tattoos. He has piercings. I think he has one or both nipples pierced. I can't remember. Other things pierced also. He's just like this big, like brutish, hulking vampire demon, but he's like a total softie, and he like desperately loves Caro and is like, I just want to take care of you. Like he like wants to feed her by hand because he just like wants to take care of her, and I love that. And the great thing about that is Caro's like a witch. She's a 3-caste witch. She's one of the most powerful witches, so like she's fully like able to take care of herself. But she's like, you know what, if you want to go hunting, go hunting. I have other things to do. So it's not like she has to rely on him, but she can if she wants to. And if she's like, you know, I can do this myself, I don't need your help, he's like, great, go for it. So yeah, that's what I'm listening to. Like I said, I have about 2 hours left on that. So I read the Krampus book. I'm reading Demon from the Dark. Oh, I read another chapter of Bet Me. I can't currently remember what happened in that chapter, but it was great. So yeah, that's what I'm up to. Sorry, I'm kind of zoning out. I'm gonna call this one quits because it's very early. And this was not short. I said it was gonna be short. It is not. But I will see you people again. Well, you will see me immediately after this, but I will say hello again in some hours. Hey guys, welcome to day 17, I think it's 17 of Vlogmas. So I missed the last 2 days because I've been prepping. The first day I was packing and like cleaning my apartment, and then yesterday I was flying to visit my parents for the holidays, so hence the new environs. So I missed the last 2 days and I have a couple books to catch up on. I have 5. So the first 2, I saw that Katie Roberts had tweeted about a book, and it was called Paddled by Krampus. So I read that one. I think it was like 50 pages. It was a pretty like simple premise, but it worked for me. It was great. And I posted about it on my story on Instagram. And Melissa, one of the gals from Seasonally Booked Up, messaged me another one and was like, hey, if you're looking for another book, and this one was called like Krampus and the Crone. And I was like, absolutely yes, let's do it, let's binge. So I read that one, and it was like much longer, it wasn't as hot, and like the whole thing was, he's not actually Krampus, he's an alien whose name is Krampusarian. And every time I heard his name I was like, why is this a thing? I don't know, like it was, I think I went in expecting it to be like very much like this other one, which is like hot and kind of like this whole monster angle, and this one was like not as hot. There's like one scene, they don't kiss until 60%. Also it was funny because I posted about that on my story and Sarah McLean responded and she's like, no, like you should be disappointed, 60% is too late. So I felt validated. Yeah, and like there were kids, and like it's one thing if I'm expecting it and I know like this is gonna be like a lighter like non-sexy book, but I was like expecting it to be hot. I was expecting it to be like a shot of like, interesting, and it just wasn't, and that's okay. It just wasn't what I wanted. So I read those two, and then I'm actually going to buddy read, I think it's called Creamed by Krampus. But I'm reading that with Jennifer of HEA or GTFO. I'll link her Instagram. We're gonna buddy read that tomorrow, so I'm very excited to see how that one goes. I think, considering the title, I think it's gonna be a little more what I was expecting. So I read those two. I also did my audio listen for Demon from the Dark, which is continuing our Immortals After Dark squad from the seasonally booked up chats. Eventually there's like a jailbreak because this evil woman comes and frees everyone, and so Malcolm gets Caro, and he also at that time finds out about Ruby, and so he's like, okay, I understand why you did this, but he still like feels really betrayed. So they're stuck on the island for a while, and it's the three of them, and he's kind of like I still love Ruby, but I still love Caro, but I can't trust her. And like Ruby starts like calling him her step demon, which is really cute. And so they kind of have to, Caro and Malcolm have to like reconcile, and it takes a while, but eventually they do. But what happens is Mariquetta, Caro's friend from a previous book, send someone to get her, and they don't save Malcolm, and Caro like loses it, and that's when Malcolm finally remembers how to trace, because, you know, he's a demon, demons can trace. So he finally remembers to trace, and as he like traces to where she is, she's like low-key about to take some people out because they won't help her find Malcolm, and he's like, oh, like, you do love me, and they're like happy, and they get a house with Ruby. So I read that one. Incredible. I love it so much. Like I said, it's Demon from the Dark, Wicked Deeds at Night's Edge, which is Conrad and Mariquetta's book, and then also Wicked Abyss. Those are my favorite three of the Immortals After Dark books. So that was fantastic. I finished it yesterday on the plane. And then another one I read was Demon Forged by Mel Jean Brooke, and of course Mel Jean Brooke is Milla Vane, so same person. That one was really interesting. I picked it up because it's Sarah Hawley's favorite book in that series, and so I started with that. I was hoping to like make her like a t-shirt or something inspired by the book. The problem is there's so many characters and there's so much lore from the first three books in the series that like it was honestly a little bit over my head for a lot of the book. So I like really enjoyed it, and like the world building's fascinating and the characters are really great, but there was like just enough stuff and just enough characters from previous books that I felt a little bit swamped. So like I would give it like a 4 because I think like it was super well written and really interesting, but it just was a little hard to keep up. So at some point I want to go back to the beginning and read the series in order, ideally. Another one I read, those are the first two. Last one I read, I just posted about today on Instagram, and that was Heated Rivalry by Rachel Reed. And it's the second book in her Common Goals series, which is all MM hockey pros, hockey players. And that one was really good. I kind of avoided reading it for a while because like a bunch of my friends were like hyping it up, and it was one of those where I'm like, oh, everyone's hyping it up. I don't know if it'll live up to it. I don't know if it'll live up to it. But I would say it mostly did. It's like these two guys who are like rivals from when they start as rookies to like years later, but like they've always been like fucking on the DL, but like no one can know because like no one's really out in the NHL, and they don't even really like each other. They're just like super attracted to each other, and so the whole book is like kind of their encounters where they like meet, and it's really, it took me a while I think to warm up to it because like they definitely kind of take a while to peel apart like the layers of who these people are, but their energy is really fun. Like they just like are snarky to each other. Like the flying back and forth is fantastic, and I think as you slowly get to kind of learn like who they are like individually and like what kind of makes them tick and like what are their things that, like what's their family like, and then like seeing them together, like it's just really like, oh, it's so good. the other thing that's fantastic is like on the ice, like there's so much bravado and there's so much like I'm the best and like so much competition, which can be really fun. But I feel like the moments with like just the two of them are so like stripped away, and like you just see like them at their essence, and it's like they're only like that with each other, which is my faves. Also, another fave thing is that they call each other by their last names for like most of the book, and then there's like this scene where like they're together and they're banging, and Ilya, the heroes are Ilya and Shane. Ilya calls Shane by his first name for the first time, and it's just like, ugh, so perfect. So yeah, I really like that. The only thing that like would stop it from being a 5-star for me is that like the whole book they're kind of like they're hiding, because they're like, what would people think if they knew that we were gay? Like it would ruin our career, it would like mess with everything, so like we can't tell anyone, we can't know. And like one of the heroes like can't even really admit to himself that he's gay for like a large portion of the book. And then like the way that it ends, spoiling the ending here, sorry. Also, as you can see, I really spoil things, so I guess I should start warning people. Whoops. But the way that it ends is like, they're like, we have to like take down this rivalry. So Ilya moves to a team who's like only an hour away, and they like slowly start to like hang out and kind of be friends. And then a year after Ilya's moved to this new team, the two of them start a charity where it's like it's like a hockey camp, but the funds will go to help those who are like suicide prevention. So the funds will go towards suicide prevention. Because Ilya's mom committed suicide when he was 12. And like that was where the book ended, where they're like, okay, now that we've like been friends for a while, then we can later, like years later, reveal that like we're also like lovers. And that one was really hard for me because I felt like the whole book was building to this like, we can never be together, like everyone will know, and like what will happen and it will ruin everything. And then for that not to be like satisfied within the narrative, like I kind of struggled with. Because like as a romance reader, like I know, like of course in the future when that happens, like people will accept them and it'll be great, or like they could be that they like don't accept them but like they're okay and they don't care. But I felt like because it's left open-ended, there's still this kind of like cloud hovering, and I guess that that's realistic, but it just kind of, it didn't satisfy my need for an HEA, because like it felt like I knew they were happy, I knew they were together, but like who knows how this could end. And I think like the promise of an HEA is that like I know 10 years they're gonna be okay, and without a shadow of a doubt I believe that they will have a good quality of life and they will be happy and like, yeah, I mean HEA, happily ever after, that they will forever be happy after the end. And I think that this didn't quite satisfy that for me. Like I didn't fully believe like that this is it, and like, and I mean I did, like I said, because I'm a romance reader, I did, but like I don't think it was in the text enough for me. Particularly I feel like with a lot of like LGBTQ stories. So next up, I'm not sure, there's a couple different books that I'm like considering picking up next. At this point, I need both a new audio. Actually, no, I started another audiobook. Forgot about that. I started another audiobook. It's a Tessa Dare novella, and it's something about like the no good, very bad Mr. Right. Excuse me. So, started this No Good, Very Bad Mr. Right, or whatever. I can't remember the correct title. It's really cute, really funny. The heroine is like not out, but her older sisters are out, and she like wants to have a season, but she has to wait until all of her sisters are married. Very like Taming of the Shrew moment. And there's this guy who keeps showing up, Mr. Right, who's like seductive and talks to her, and they have really good chemistry, but she's like, I can't, I don't have time for you, you're gonna ruin my plans. And he's like, yeah, but you like it. You think I'm dangerous. You don't have enough I can't remember that exact Star Wars quote, but like he's like, you think I'm dangerous, you need more dangerous men in your life. Anyways, that's really fun. I think I'm halfway through. So that's the audio, but after that, like I said, it's halfway through. I think there's maybe like an hour or two left, so I'll probably get a new audio after that pretty soon. But I am finally going to start The Duke and I, because this TV show comes out in about a week, and I really want to read this before the show comes out. Honestly, everything they keep dropping, just like, I'm dying. Like the trailer dropped recently, I was just, I couldn't take it. It was so good. Anyways, so that's kind of what I have up next. So yeah, I will check back in tomorrow. Hey guys, it is day 18, I think day 18 of Vlogmas. Checking in this morning. Yesterday I read, like I mentioned, I did a buddy read with Jennifer at HA or GTFO on Instagram, and we read Creamed by Krampus by, I think, CC Cummings. Wild ride. That one was interesting. It kind of had some like 365 days, the Netflix movie vibes, and that like the heroine was traveling with her boyfriend. They like went to the Alps. They were like going all out, and she'd like kind of been waiting to sleep with him, I guess, because she'd just been having kind of like lackluster sexual encounters. And so she was like, no, this is gonna happen, we're gonna do it, it's gonna be great. So they're in this villa, it's like in the middle of the Alps, and they bang, and she's like, I didn't come, that wasn't fun. And then the power goes out, and she's just kind of, and he's like, oh, I better go check on the power. So she's sitting in the villa, and she's kind of like disappointed, and then like the doors like blow open, and Krampus walks in, and he's like, oh yeah, the church had it wrong. Also, it's just like, we are Krampus. Interesting. Just like, we are Krampus. And like, he's this whole spiel about how like the church had it wrong, like, we're not here to punish anyone, we're here to give you your wildest dreams. And then it was just like hot filth. And then at one point, like, 2 demons show up, and so they like tag team her. I don't know. It was really, it was interesting. Jennifer has a theory that it was written by like a dude, because it has a lot of like, I don't know if you're familiar with, I think it was on Twitter a while ago, but there's this whole like, as I, like men writing women is like, as I breasted boobily down the stairs. Then there was like a lot of like breasted boobily style writing of like someone trying to describe a woman in a way that's just like, this doesn't sound like a way a woman would describe herself at all. And I think, I wish I'd saved it. She had some like stuff on her story about this is my proof as to why I don't think that this was written by a woman, or maybe even someone who understands how women function. So it was just like a funny read, because it felt so bizarre, and in some ways perhaps a little performative, but it was still like really just like bonkers and fun. And then at the end it had this whole like, oh yeah, I woke up and it was all a dream kind of thing. So yeah, that one was wild. But I did, when I got that, it was on KU, and I'd been thinking about getting KU for a while. I had it earlier, but I didn't, like, I had KU, I want to say last year for like a while, but then at the beginning of the pandemic I was like, I should probably cut down on things that I'm not using as much. And I knew I had the library, but I was like, this is on KU, should I go for it? And then they had like 2 months free, so I was like, obviously yes, going for it. So I got KU, and of course immediately downloaded a shit ton of other books. One of which, and this one was really weird, bear with me. I will be brief because it may or may not be everyone's into it, but like after all of the Krampus books, I was like, yeah, monsters feel right now. And I found this one, I think it was called Nepenthe by Octavia something, like Hex. It's an alien book. There are tentacles. And it's just like, if those things intrigue you in an erotica, this is the book for you. It's super bizarre. There's some like dubious consent. Yeah, it was super bizarre, but if that intrigues you at all, it was a very short, hot read. So go forth. Read that. It was really quick. And then I also read Bottle Rocket by Aaron McClellan. And oh, it's so good. It's so, so good. I just wrote a review about it. But that one was like Second Chance, Leo and Rosie, like were like first love, like super into each other, but she had to kind of be the parent because I can't remember what was going on, but there's something issues with their parents, so she was like kind of in charge of raising her two younger siblings, and he like kind of wanted to run away from home and be an artist. So they are like together through high school and then leave and they don't talk to each other. And then the book picks up 13 years later where Rosie has just gotten out of a pretty toxic marriage, just got divorced, and she's kind of trying to like find things that she's like passionate about, things that she's interested in, and she's walking into what she believes to be a still life drawing class, and it turns out this is in fact a figure drawing class. And right as the like model just like drops trowel, she realizes this is Leo, her like first love, and they run into each other, and they're both kind of like stunned. And she's become a school teacher, and he's become an erotic artist. I think he mostly does paintings. So they kind of run into each other again, and she mentions that she's kind of trying to like figure out her thing, what she's doing. And I think she propositions him. She's like, why don't you take me back to your Airstream trailer? I'd love to check it out. And then he's like, as they're walking, he's like, okay, I'm assuming something sexual is going to happen here, and I want to be really upfront. This is what I'm into. And he's kind of into pain, and he's like a bit of a submissive, and he's like, I just want to be upfront. This is what I really like. We can do whatever you want, but like, this is what I'm kind of into. And she's like, I think I'm going to be into that too. So they kind of, actually, I think he draws her first. He draws her, anyways, I'm talking a really long time about this book, and maybe it's a little bit long-winded. So he draws her, they have some sexual encounters, and she's like, this is something I'm really into, and like, you're someone who's really experienced. And so she decides she has like a list of things that she wants to do as her like sexual experience. Not really a bucket list, but like, I don't know. A list that you do, yeah, I don't know, maybe it's not really a bucket list, more of like, I want to do these things before you leave, because he's leaving town after like an art show. And so they like start doing this stuff on the list together. They start realizing they never really stopped loving each other, but he like is very nomadic, like who he is as a person. Like he wants to travel, he has like things that he does, and she, by like in opposition to that, like she is very much like, I want to nest, I'm like a home person, I want like a space. And so they're kind of like, they're both realizing like, I deeply care for this person, but I don't know how to care for them without compromising something very important to me, and like something that's part of who I am. And I really loved this book. I think also, yeah, I don't read a lot of submissive men in books because that's like the opposite of what I'm into. And I think this one was so well done in a way that like, yeah, it just kind of made me realize that, and it's so funny because like it seems obvious, like with women, there's this whole like books talk all about like women who are like very like dominant. Like, I feel like it's the first thing you learn anytime you start reading any sort of erotic BDSM stuff, but like the heroine is always someone who's like dominant outside of her sex life, but like she wants to be submissive. And I think I had this weird disconnect when it came to like men, and because I didn't read a ton, I didn't even think that it would be the same way. But I guess so I was reading this and I realized like this is a person who like is like very like confident. Like Leo is confident, Leo is accomplished, Leo is comfortable, and I guess I hadn't really read any books where like, actually that's not true, there's one other one, Open Hearts by Eve Dangerfield, which I also love. So yeah, it was cool reading this and realizing like, oh, this like preconceived notion that I had was super wrong, and it like respected, like retroactively, it's like duh, obviously. So yeah, that was really cool. And also yeah, something I just love about Aaron McClellan's books, like all of them, is that like they feel like real people. Like these aren't like children who are like vindictive or like don't realize that they like care about someone. Like they're really honest with themselves and with each other in a way that just feels like so mature and so refreshing. Like they're not gonna like say something really awful to like their partner and force them to leave, because that's immature and that's childish and it's not very loving. Like the way that they resolve a lot of the issues are like being honest with each other and like creating spaces where they talk about upfront about things, and it's just so nice, and I love that a lot. Anyways, I'm obsessed with Erin McClellan. I read all of her So Over the Holiday series. They're all fantastic. I can't even pick a favorite. Like they're all so good. So yeah, I read that one. I think I'm not sure what I have on the docket. At some point I need to finish Bet Me. So I have Bet Me that I'm currently reading. I want to read The Duke and I before Bridgerton comes out. And also now I have KU, and that's a big old can of worms. So I will keep you all posted, I suppose.